See you at 1 o'clock
Thank
now.
you,
Here's a story for you. Laura's put me in good form there, but here's a story that could put you even in better form. This is brilliant right now. There was a man who started out at nearly 30 stone in weight, and he realised he had to lose weight when he got stuck in the turnstiles at the Port Vale football ground. Doesn't sound like a very positive story, but stay with me. Stephen Duffield lost 17 stone in a year. He'd been through a really tough time with the death of both of his parents, and he suffered from depression. And Stephen joined me earlier, and I genuinely mean this. He has made my weekend. What a brilliant personality. He was at the Manchester United match during the week, and he was one of the people who left before the final whistle. Have a listen to that, but then have a listen to his brilliant, positive story.
Nearly the end, Connor. You can tell I'm laughing now, but I was one of those shameful Reds that left in disgust. I know.
You left?
Still processing it. I've never done that. Well, I'd lie if I said I've never done that before, but I haven't been to Old Trafford all season out of protest for what's going on with the club. And my best friend Tintin took me last night. He was determined to get me there for one last game of the season, so I went. And at 4-2, I'd had enough, and he'd had enough, and we both looked at each other. And by 4-4, we were near the car. And by 5-4, a taxi driver pulled over, wound down the window, saw us in our United shirts, and went, lads. And we knew then. We ducked it.
I was walking past.
Yeah.
I was walking down past Old Trafford last evening, and the Leon fans had made some noise, and I thought Man United had scored, but it wasn't. It was they had scored, and they had made a rapturous noise, and I thought, well, that's it, done and dusted. And as I was walking down, and I was looking at my phone, I'm not a Manchester United fan. No. There were hundreds of fans walking down, and I was in and around where we broadcast here in Media City, hundreds, and then I was like, oh, there's been another goal. There's been another goal. And you could see people going, oh no, I'm here and I should be up there.
Couldn't believe it. And I felt sick all day because it's been on Facebook everywhere, all the scenes, all the people jumping all over each other, all the YouTubers I follow, they're saying it was amazing, best atmosphere ever. And the club's needed it, really needed it. The fans have needed it after all this. And I just couldn't believe it. The last time I walked out was Spurs a few years ago, 3-0 down at half time. And I realised my lift was still in the ground. So I ended up walking around Stratford all on my own for 2 hours. So I haven't learned, have I? I haven't learned.
Stephen, I'd love to talk to you about this all night because we probably are going to talk about it all night. But here, I want to talk to you about something else that happened in your life, in your footballing life as a supporter. Can you take me back to a day at Port Vale that changed your life, changed your perspective on health, and changed how you lived?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a bit of a subtext to it, in so much that I've had mental health issues all my life, and that's affected my weight on and off. But the zenith of all this was Christmas 2022, so around the time the last World Cup was on. And I was lucky enough to take my nephews and my brother-in-law to a Port Vale game Boxing Day. And for whatever reasons that had conspired against me, some my own fault, some medication, I'd ballooned to 30 stone nearly, 28 and a half, 29 plus change. That was 2 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago. And yeah, we went in through the turnstiles, well, they did, and I got stuck. One of those old Victorian metal type turnstiles, and I got stuck before I went in the game. Humiliating, pal, really was humiliating, and I still look back on it now. It's probably more amusing to me now, but it was a turning point, absolutely.
How could the staff try and help you? Because I'm sure they were trying to help you as best they could, but at 30 stone, they have limitations to what they can do.
I mean, it wasn't so much that I was stuck and I needed, grease and someone to come and shove me out, because I was so big that I had to lift up all the sort of my weight around the metal gates and sort of shuffle my way through, kind of thing. That was the more humiliating side of things, having to manhandle my weight through it as people were looking on, and it wasn't one of those football fans all getting to me chanting and stuff. They were sort of looking away and, you know, sneering and all that kind of thing. Total humiliation. And then the look on my nephew's face, they were only little at the time. It's a couple of years ago now. They probably don't remember as much as I do. But I thought, I can't let them see their uncle do this to himself anymore, you know?
Yeah. So this was the catalyst. How quickly did it become the catalyst to change?
Well, January, great time for a new start, wasn't it? But it didn't happen overnight. You know, I didn't go full into this at first. I'd lost weight before, but then I gained it a lot quicker again. I'd gone through a couple of cycles of that, so I knew I had a brief system to lose weight, but it's never stuck though, and it got worse every single time. I realised that part of gaining so much weight is actually down to a lot of mental problems, and a lot of people will probably say that have gained weight or not happy with their weight, that deep down there's something troubling them. It might be depression, it might be anxiety, it might be loss, it might be trauma. Those kinds of things might be, you know, and that underpins a lot of people's eating habits, a lot of people's drinking habits, a lot of people's resistance to be active, fundamentally something deep down. So I knew that if I was going to do it this time, I needed to try and have a look at myself from a wider angle rather than just calories in, calories out. Now, don't get me wrong, that's really important, and the science backs that. If you eat more than you burn, you will gain weight. But there are other things, though. What's stopping me from eating less? What's stopping me from getting out there more? So I wanted to do it gradually, bit by bit, but use the opportunity to have a real deep look inside me. What was the root cause of my 30 years of depression? What was the root cause of my anxiety? Now, over the course of that year that I went through that transformation, I gained more and more insight to that. And, you know, the byline to this story is I started to walk. I started to walk a bit by bit by bit, and I started to walk longer. And I used that time to walk to start researching the actual root causes of why I was suffering from depression. What was the cause of my anxiety, but not only just not the whys, but how could I control them? So it wasn't just the manifesting, you know, downloading the free calorie counting app. That was the first step. That was month one. Month two was walking, but at the same time I realized as I was walking I had that free time to listen to YouTube podcasts and things about mental health. I read fundamentally to me it was a life-changing book as well. And now that book laid out the necessity to form useful habits. It's called Atomic Habits. It's a New York Times bestseller, and that doesn't just apply to weight loss, how you can create good weight loss habits. It actually applies to a lot of elements of your life, habits in your life. So I used that time while I was walking as a time for reflection. And as he said, you know, as a 30 stone bloke is walking, he's actually using that weight as a counterweight. So the weight did start falling off, but I took control. I owned my situation, Connor.
That was exactly the phrase I was about to use there now, was taking control, because the fact that you talked about that you were able to not only create a better relationship with your habits, create a better relationship with your food, create a better relationship with exercise. They're things that people who are in your situation don't always do and don't have the capabilities to do. So congratulations to you for having the abilities to organise that in that way. And I suppose there's people listening now who want to know, how do you do that?
Absolutely. It's accountability. Yes, absolutely accountable. What got me to this state? That's an honest conversation you've got to have with yourself. But at the same time, it's also about being kind to yourself as well, saying, well, this happened in my past. This happened in my past. And you've got to try and let those go, because unless you can let go of what happened to you in the past, whether it be the loss of a parent or you know, it might be abuse. It wasn't in my case. I had a great childhood, or something like that. You have to say, they weren't my problem. They weren't my fault. And if they were your fault, you have to let them go. You can't move on unless your grief is anchored in the now. You got to let go of it. Give yourself a clean slate, but also have some very honest conversations. I had severe anxiety, for example, and I was depressed for 30 years, but I masked that by putting myself as the centre of attention in pubs, socially. I'd be the first one to buy rounds of drinks. I would buy what I would call friends by buying rounds of drinks. That would then lead to ordering late night curries. That would lead to a hangover that put me in bed all day. So all of those things are habits, negative habits that are all layered up on top of each other, creating a perfect storm. Now, the side to that was I was on quite severe antipsychotic medicine that, it completely messes around with your whole metabolism as well. So it was a perfect storm. So what I did is I had to look at each one of those aspects individually and look at them for what they were and how could I control them? How could I get rid of that grief or whatever? How could I move off slowly that medication? How could I get control of the calories that were going into my body? How could I get rid of the alcohol? Now, like I said, you have to do these things, but you have to take a very simplistic view, because if you look at this whole thing as a big ball of twine and think, oh, this is a whole mess, I'm never going to get back. You've got to do it from first principles, Connor. Take it simply. Look at each one of these things individualistically. The walking, yes, the calories in, the calories out, but it's all about the mindset. And as
Stephen,
I say,
the bit that we haven't mentioned yet, Stephen,
go for it, sir.
And I know, listen, people who are trying to deal with health and weight loss, I know sometimes looking at figures and individual numbers is not helpful, but I think I have to mention the amount of weight you lost over that period of time.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So let's brass tacks. So Christmas 2022, I was 392 pounds, give or take. And Christmas the very next year, so this is Christmas 2023, about a year and a bit ago now, I was 153 pounds. So I'd lost about 240 pounds. And depends on, some newspapers have rounded it up, some have rounded it down, but it's about 16 and a half or 17 stone in a year, in a little less than a year, actually.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
And how do you feel now?
Amazing. I've kept the weight off through mindset.
That's the big bit, isn't it? That's the hardest bit.
I've realised that whilst I may never cure myself of depression, I'm in physical and mental space where I can deal with it now, and I'm wanting to give back now. I'm using my walking, my mindset, to actually give back to a charity that I'm really passionate about, which is why a lot of people have sort of picked up on this now. I'm walking 1,880 miles, which is the distance of Acorns Children's Hospice in Worcester to the Sahara Desert. I'm doing it round Worcestershire, round Kidderminster, actually, canals and stuff. I'm doing about 20 miles a day, purely because I can now. 2 years ago, I couldn't. 2 years ago, the first month, I only walked 6 miles, and I've done 22 miles nearly. So
Stephen,
it's a mind shift. Yeah, giving
what
back.
A terrific individual you are. I could sit and talk to you all day, and you can tell by listening to you how passionate you are about this.
Thank you. Could I just say, it'd be really kind of you if I could mention that I am doing this for charity. So if people can find me on socials and stuff, I've raised £3,000 so far in 2 months, Connor. I need to raise, or not need to, I'd like to raise as much as possible. And I'd like to raise at least another £1,000. My friends have been really supportive, but I'd like to reach out to local businesses in Worcestershire now to try and support me to get me to that next level. I'm actually
What
going
is
to
the charity called again?
It's Acorns Children's Hospice. They're quite famous in the UK. We're actually going to the Sahara in October, but if they can find me on Just Giving, the Just Giving page, it's Sahara Yomp, YOMP, 4 Acorns, because I call walking yomping, so it's Sahara Yomp for Acorns. So if anyone's been inspired by what I'm doing and what I'm trying to achieve now, it's for a children's hospice, and all the money goes directly to them weekly to keep them going. They look after 750 critically or really ill children or end-of-life children every single year, and it costs them loads just to keep the lights on. They're amazing. They're the inspirational ones, the people that are looking after these kids and families, Connor.
Stephen,
so I'm leaving it all out there. I'm giving it all back. I even left Old Trafford early so I could do some more walking last night, Connor.
Yeah, let's just say that. Let's just say that. By all means.
We'll keep that between us, pal.
Yeah. Don't worry about the national radio audience listening right now. Nobody will know. Nobody will know.
No.
If you just give it a wee Google, if you Google Sahara Yomp, YOMP, it will all come up there.
For Acorns, yeah. You can find me on socials, Duff Yomps and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's been fab. I just wanted to inspire people to try and make little changes. My motto, Connor, is simple and often. Do something simply and do it often. That's how you get your habits back.
Right, before I go tonight, I'm looking at the BBC.
So, that was my interview with the amazing Connor Phillips. Shout out to Tintin. I didn't realise my voice sounded like that. Probably sounds like this now as well because I'm recording this afterwards. But thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this. As I said in the interview, I'm doing it for Acorns and giving something back. So if you found what I've said enlightening, interesting, inspiring, then yeah, do me a favour to donate to the charity, please. Thanks a lot for your time today. And Mum and Dad, this is for you. God bless you all.